Hello? Hi. Okay. I'm sorry. This is the first time I'm facilitating.
No problem.
You guys are from the from Ontario, right?
That's right.
Okay. Let me just make sure, go through all the little checklists here. Raise your hand. Okay, so I think I'm just gonna say these 3 slides and then you guys take over.
Sounds good.
That's my understanding. I should have reviewed this. Use the time before the session to get started practice. Now, do you have the share button? Do you have access to that already?
Yes.
You do. Okay, so I don't have to do that. Okay. And we start at 5 minutes. Okay. So I'll be like, welcome panelists. Session promptly starts after. Okay. Mute yourself on active. So wait a second. This is what I go over with you guys. I don't know why I pick a 3 o'clock because I just finished working. I should have done something later, so I had time to look at this. Sorry. Hopefully I don't mess up. Have you guys done another session before already?
I've done a few with StriScan and different ACACs.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Have you had a good feedback from the students and stuff? Have they been attending?
Yeah, the ones that I've done, it's been fairly good. I don't know, Andy, if you have done any, but
I did one yesterday. I think we had about 19 people RSVP, but about 4 only showed up. Do we happen to know how many are registered for this one as of this minute?
I don't have that.
I checked before I logged in and we were at 18 registered.
Oh, nice. Okay.
All right, not bad. I was talking to myself.
We knew you'd figure it out, Sonera.
You know, you would think after all these Zoom meetings.
I don't see, they said there's a start button in my end, but I don't see a start button in my end. I hope I don't mess this up, but I don't see the start button in my end.
Are you referring to the recording link? Because it looks like we're already recording.
No, I think it's the broadcast. They've got a...
Okay, can you see my screen now or not?
I can see your, like, the slides.
Oh, the share, I think it's in the top, no? Right here?
I just see my slides. I don't see where I hit for you guys to take over.
So as long as once it starts and broadcasts,
that's that button I'm looking for, that broadcast button. I don't see it.
Okay.
Hello, if anyone is currently seeing us and we're already being broadcasted.
Hi guys. Well.
No, I think as of, oh.
And for the 3 of us, who's sharing our slides?
I've got it ready to go.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. Okay, why has this disappeared on me?
And just to recap, I'm throwing it over to you at slide 4, where you begin with Ontario, correct, Brian?
Yep.
Awesome.
And then I'll do Ontario and Canada, and then Sonera will go, and
so
then we're alpha order.
I'm just going to say I'm Andy, joining me is Brian and Sonera in the first slide, and then do
That's right.
Slide 2, a little bit of...
I start at slide 6.
Yeah. A little bit of Canada overview and some fun facts about Canada. And then slide 4 over to Brian. Do you guys care if I mention Drake?
Has a mention right by Glendon, so.
Oh, wow. Actually, that's true. That is where
that's where he is.
All right, what's your time check?
2:57.
Yep.
Okay.
even though I'm not one to care for celebrities at all. As a matter of fact, I have some strong opinions about them.
Yes.
The privilege, the special treatment, really.
Mhm.
Nowhere else have I seen class system being so fair as it is with celebrities, and I have a lot to say about them. Well, I will never ever mention Drake, but hey, if that's something that's like works for you, Andy, go for it. Because I'm sure you can do justice to a rival.
And to our moderator, we're keeping questions for the end, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
I also noticed that we have one attendee viewing right now. I'm assuming this is just someone queued up, or is this someone that is live?
Well, we're about to go live now.
Okay.
I saw the attendee too, and I wasn't sure.
Okay, so welcome everyone, and we are at the Virtual College Exploration. Just a few housekeeping rules. How do I ask questions? You use the Q&A button to type your questions to the presenters at any time. Your camera and microphone are off. And you are muted as well. Please understand you can still sign up for more sessions. This is one of many college presentations offered. So check out the website at www.njacac.org/virtual-fair. Recording will be available. All sessions are being recorded and will be available at www.njacac.org/virtual-fair. You guys should be able to take over.
Wonderful. So I believe our slide is up. Welcome, everyone. My name is Andy, and I'd like to, on behalf of my colleagues, welcome you to our presentation about studying in Ontario, Canada. I'm an international recruitment officer from McMaster University, which is based in Hamilton, Ontario. And joining me are my colleagues, Brian from the University of Waterloo, as well as Sunera Ali from York University. During today's presentation, we'd like to share the inside scoop about studying here in Ontario, Canada. Next slide, please. If you've never traveled to Ontario or Canada, taking a look at the map of the US's northern neighbor, we, Ontario, are located slightly to the east of the geographic center of Canada. The three universities represented here are located within a region called South Central Ontario. We're approximately an hour to an hour and a half drive of each other's location. York University is located in the northwestern section of Toronto, or for anyone who may be fans of Drake, the Six, while McMaster is located about 45 minutes west of Toronto, about an hour away from the US border at Niagara Falls, New York. And my friend Brian from University of Waterloo, he's slightly a bit more west in the city of Waterloo, about 1.5 hours west of Toronto. On the next slide, if this is your first time researching study options in Canada, some quick facts you should know about for your research or future trivia, if you ever do live trivia. Canada has two official languages, both English and French. In Ontario, where we are located, you don't have to be bilingual, as the primary language of instruction is English. There are some universities where you can study in French, including York, which I'm sure Sunera can tell you more about. In terms of size, Canada's population is just over 38 million people, even though we're the second largest country in the world, the biggest country being Russia. Of course, we're number two. Our population is just about the same size of California. So California within the second largest landmass, land space country in the world. Even though we have a massive amount of space, 90% of Canada's population live within about 100 miles of the US border. This is really handy for cross-border shopping if you're coming from Canada to the US. I love Macy's trip, shout out Macy's. Our population can be classified here in Canada as very diverse, as well as Our cities and communities are very welcoming. In Toronto, for example, Canada's largest city, close to 50% of the population was not born in Canada, and a similar percentage of residents' first language is something other than English. And in fact, by various measures, Toronto has been named the most diverse city in the world, ahead of places such as Dubai, Melbourne, Australia, and even New York City. And lastly, while the 3 universities represented here are in the South Central Ontario area, and this is the most populous section of Canada, Toronto is not the capital. Ottawa is our capital city. Now I'll tell you about, pass it over to Brian, tell you a little bit more about Ontario.
Thanks, Andy. So in the province of Ontario, about a third of Canada's total population actually does live here. So as Andy mentioned about Ontario being the most populous, just a third of the population is located right here. We are the second largest province in the country, with over 1 million square kilometers, which is about 415,000 square miles. We actually are home to 2 different time zones here. So you can cross time zones without actually ever leaving the province, but you've got to go fairly far to the west within the province to do so. And while Ottawa is the capital of Canada, Toronto is actually the capital of our province here in Ontario. So why study in Canada? Well, first of all, our internationally recognized degrees. So no matter what school you go to, if you've got a Canadian education, that degree is going to be recognized worldwide. We are very affordable. When you compare the cost of international student tuition at most Canadian institutions, and especially the 3 that we're talking about here today, to a lot of the times you can equate it to out-of-state tuition at a lot of US colleges. So we have a total of 96 universities in Canada, and 75 of those are publicly funded, which means that no matter what schools you're looking at up here, we have to adhere to very high educational standards. In order to keep that government funding coming, we have to hit certain thresholds and have high quality educational standards. One of the things that we're going to discuss later on is the paid co-op opportunities that are available at a lot of Canadian schools, but definitely specifically the 3 that we have here. Now, I've mentioned universities a lot today, and that's because there is a difference in Canada between universities and colleges. I know in the States, a lot of the times, college is the kind of key word that's used to describe both, but up here, there is a difference between the 2. So universities are that kind of larger institution that you would consider a college or university in the US. Colleges up here in Canada, you could equate that more to like a community college in the United States. And probably one of the big draws for studying in Canada is if you graduate with a 3 or 4 year degree from a Canadian institution, you're eligible to apply for a postgraduate work permit for up to 3 years. So that's one great thing that a lot of international students, regardless of what country they're coming from, find attractive about being in Canada. And now Sunera is going to take over and highlight a few more things.
Fantastic. Thanks, Brian. And welcome, everyone. Before I move into our application process, I would like to talk a little bit about our cities because I won't be doing justice if I don't tell you. So Hamilton, you may not know, is actually known as the waterfall capital in the world. So there are tons of great things. It's a beautiful city. It's also very close to one of the most popular destinations in the world. It's a tourist destination. You know what that is. It is Niagara Falls, you guessed it. Waterloo actually does host the largest Oktoberfest festival, which is right after Germany, and every single year it sees over 700,000 people. So it's never a dull moment in any of our cities. Toronto, as many of you know, is one of the largest cities in North America. It is currently the 4th largest. So it's right after Los Angeles, New York City, and also Mexico City as well. So with that, let's move into our application process. Next slide, please. Awesome. All right, everyone. So the application process for all of us, since we are in the province of Ontario, will typically open in late September, and you are able to use a common application called OUAC, which is the Ontario's University Application Center. We've also listed the website for you as well, so it's www.ouac.on.ca. The good thing is it is a single location where you can apply to all Ontario universities. It is very similar to the Common App, but you're not going to be uploading any grades or documents here. You will be paying an application fee and you will have a choice of 3 universities that you can apply to. Now you are able to apply to more than 3, but there is an additional fee for each of the choice when you are going above the fee threshold. Keep in mind though, you cannot apply to more than 3 programs at one specific school. And then after you apply, you will actually be working with each and every single university individually. There will probably be a portal where you will upload your documents, and then all of us, my colleagues, or someone from the university will be working directly and closely with you. Some universities may allow you to apply on their website. So I know for McMaster and Waterloo, that's not a possibility. You will be using OUAC, but for York, which is my university, you are able to apply on our website as well. So with that, we will move to our next section now.
So what does McMaster Admissions look like? Well, there are about 25 programs that you can apply to at our university. These programs are housed under 6 academic faculties, as we refer to them. And once you enter into the university, after applying to one of these 25 or up to 3 of these 25 areas, these, after your first year, lead to dozens upon dozens of majors. You can find a list of all of the programs as well as a description and the potential majors that you can do after your first year on our website that you see on the slide here, which is future.mcmaster.ca/programs. Every year we have about 5,500 students coming to McMaster's freshman class, and they originate from about 120 plus countries, give or take a few depending on the year. Students coming from the United States to gain admission to our university apply, and we look at their best 5 senior or grade 12 subjects, and the subject prerequisites do vary by program. On a traditional year, outside of COVID-19, we normally ask for SAT or ACT testing. SATs we ask for a minimum 1,200 with 600 in the 2 different sections, or an ACT composite score of 27. However, for September 2021 admission, due to COVID-19, we are making our standardized test optional. As you go through the application process in the coming weeks or months, if you are a senior student, for McMaster, I always recommend applying by mid-January. For the 2021 admission period, it is January 15th to be precise. And this will ensure that you meet all of the deadlines for all of the programs. Some programs have closed firm by the state. Others are open a bit later, but applying by January 15th will ensure that you're processed in a timely manner. This is slightly later than some of the early decision dates you may be working with if you're looking at colleges or universities in the US. Additional steps are also involved for some of our programs. So in the case of programs like our health sciences degree, our Bachelor of Engineering degree, or other options, you do have to complete a profile or a video interview or some additional supplemental forms in the form of short answer essay questions is what that might look like. For more of our STEM programs, you may be asked to complete AP classes. However, there are ways of working around that if that's not available at your school. If you are completing AP courses, depending on the program and the AP class you completed, if you have a score of 4, you may be reviewed for advanced credit once you arrive at McMaster. But that's a quick synopsis of what admission to McMaster would look like. I'll toss it over to Brian to tell you about Waterloo.
Thanks, Andy. So at Waterloo, we have over 120 different programs that we offer, and they are spread across 6 different faculties. So you'll find programs in the faculties of Applied Health Sciences, Arts, Engineering, Environment, Mathematics, and Science. The required courses will vary by program. So you can see our website there, uwaterloo.ca/future-students for those specific program requirements. We're generally looking for your top 6 senior or 12th grade courses. As mentioned in the last slide, there is no direct application. You do have to go you have to go through the OUAC. The SAT and ACT is required for only if you're applying to our engineering programs. So we do recognize that due to COVID, there might be some circumstances that may have impacted your ability to participate in those standardized tests. If that's the case, you just need to let us know through an email that there were circumstances due to COVID that prevented you from writing that. But as of right now, we are still requiring the SAT or ACT only for admission to our engineering programs. And we're usually looking for scores in the top 25%. Overall grades of 80% or about a 3.6 plus on your GPA. Some programs might be more competitive than others. For example, engineering, mathematics, computer science, or accounting are going to likely be much higher than 80%. As much like McMaster, AP exams with scores of 4 or 5 are eligible for transfer credit for most of our programs. And we do have a supplemental form that we ask you to fill out after you apply. It's called an admission information form, or AIF for short. So it does allow us to take a bit more of a holistic admissions approach when we're reviewing, but don't worry, it's not a big long essay or anything like that that you're going to have to review. And now over to York.
Thanks, Brian. All right, so for York University, we do have over 150 different undergraduate programs. We do have 11 different faculties, so lots of different programs that students can study. We have our School of Arts, Media, Performance, and Design. We have our Schulich School of Business. We have our Liberal Arts and Professional Studies, which is our biggest faculty. Environmental and Urban Change, our Faculty of Science, Faculty of Health. So those are a few of our faculties. What we typically require for students when they are applying to us is your high school transcripts, typically from grade 9 to 12 first semester grades. Grade range will vary. So we are typically looking for a B, so 3.3 on a 4-point scale for most programs. And then some programs can range as high as 3.7 on a 4-point scale GPA, which is typically equivalent to an A. However, your GPA is going to vary by the program that you are applying to. There are subject-specific prerequisite depending on the program that you apply for. So for example, if you're going to be applying to math or science, we are going to be looking for science and math prerequisite, which will typically come from your senior year of studies. Now, depending on the program you apply for, maybe you're going to apply to the Bachelor's in Fine Arts, that's our School of Arts, Media, Performance, and Design, or our Schulich School of Business, we will require a supplementary evaluation as well. Most of your grades typically will come from your grade 11 and 12 years, so your senior years, and we are going to be looking for senior level courses. Aside from that, in a typical year, we will be requiring students for an SAT or ACT, but we are test optional for students who are applying for September 2021 or our January 2022. So we do have a January admission. So just know that for next year, we are going to be test optional. In any given year, we would typically be requiring an 1170 on your SAT, and ACT is typically a 24. As I already mentioned, additional documentation may be required, and that's usually for our Bachelor's in Fine Arts or our Bachelor's in Business Administration. Now, AP courses with a score of 4 and 5, you are able to get transfer credits for them, so that's advanced standing. Or if you're in the IB program as well, if you have a score of 30 or 36 as well, so we are able to give transfer credits there as well. And as I already mentioned, students are able to apply directly on our website as well, if you choose to do so. All right, with that, we will move to our next section, which we are going to talk about budgeting your studies. So now that we've told you how wonderful our institutions are and you can't wait to apply, let's talk a little bit about your budget. So on the very first row, you will see our tuition ranges, which we have listed by institution, and all of these are listed in Canadian dollars. We have listed the prices for our international students and domestic students as well. So if you do have a permanent resident, if you are a permanent resident of Canada, or if you are a citizen of Canada, then you know that you are eligible for domestic fees. So those are at the bottom. And the second row, we've also included our accommodations. So if you're living on residence, what the cost looks like. Our third column talks about your total budget. So this is your fee, including residence and additional costs that you will need to be able to study at our universities. But lastly, in the very last column, what you will find is your total budget, which is in US dollars. Just to give you a sense, if you are looking at the price point here, there's one thing that you will notice. So many of our institutions and all of our institutions for this presentation, the cost is a lot lower than you would be paying in the United States. So not only are you getting a world quality education, you're also getting it at a very reasonable price as well. So with that, let's move over to our next slide.
Wonderful. So to help you offset that cost, while attending McMaster, there are a number of different ways that you can offset that cost. First are automatic entrance scholarships. These are valued up to 2,500 Canadian dollars for your first year. There is no application. And if you go onto our website, you'll be able to see more about the different tiers and the timing for these awards. There are also various departmental awards for some of the programs. In this case, you may have to complete an additional application for some of these awards. Once you start at McMaster, starting in your second year, there are also in-course awards that are available. These amounts vary from a few $100s to several $1,000s and have additional components like mentoring in addition to a financial aspect to it. The criteria may differ depending on the award, which might look at the level of leadership that you've been involved with, volunteering, community involvement, both during your time at McMaster or your historical involvement within these areas. So it's a quick synopsis of some of the ways that you can offset your finances by attending McMaster.
So looking at the scholarship ranges that are offered here at Waterloo, you'll see a bit of a breakdown there. The President's Scholarship of Distinction is for students who have a 95% average or higher. President's Scholarship is 90% and up, and then Merit is for 85%. So last year, over $35 million were awarded in terms of scholarships at Waterloo, and almost all of our awards are automatic consideration. There's very, very few that require a separate application. And international students are considered equal with domestic students for almost all of our awards. And we do have a small number of awards that are specific for international students. Now, the one thing to keep in mind with scholarships at Waterloo is our approach is usually a smaller amount of money to a larger group of students rather than a large amount of money to a smaller group. So international students, while our rates are definitely, as you saw in a couple of slides ago, very affordable compared to a lot of our colleagues down south there, you will need to have a significant amount of the funding coming from other sources than scholarships and awards.
All right, so for York University, these are scholarships for international students, and we've broken them up into two different sections for you. So first, the ones that do not require an application form. So these are just some of the few. You're able to find them all on our website as well. So the York University Talent Entrance Scholarship, which is through our Arts, Media, Performance, and Design School. It's $1,000. Our Global Health Scholarship is roughly around $5,000. Lassant Entrance Scholarship, which is for our School of Engineering, is $2,000. Liberal Arts and Professional Studies also has a scholarship for $2,000. It is going to be based on your grades. So though an application is not required, it is based on grades and your GPA, obviously. The Faculty of Science Entrance Scholarship is roughly around $2,000 as well. Now, there are other scholarships that students can apply to, but they do require an application form. So for that, we have our York Science Scholars Award, and this is kind of a unique award that many of our students appreciate. So it's a $5,000 entrance scholarship, but then you also get $5,000 towards a summer research position as well, and that's typically within your first year of study. Then we do have 3 additional scholarships as well. So our International Circle of Scholars and a few others as well. We haven't listed all of them on our website, also for our Glendon College as well. And for all of those, you do have to fill up an application, which again, they are on our website, and it's only one application, which will qualify you for all of the awards that we do offer. With that, we'll move to our next section now.
So other great ways of essentially developing your resume or your CV once you're at university, in addition to potentially offsetting some of your costs, is to participate in co-op opportunities, internships, or experiential education opportunities. And here at McMaster, there are a variety of ways to get involved and gain industry experience, and it varies based on the program that you're studying. If you're participating in a co-op, for example, within our Faculty of Engineering or Science, there are opportunities that might range between 12 to 16 months where you go out and work for some of the partners that are available in this part of Canada, or you could also work in other parts of the world. Depending on the program that you are involved in, the timing might vary, where you could potentially work during your summer breaks, starting after your first year, or in the case of our School of Business, you would take an entire 12 to 16 months off and work between your third and fourth year before returning to graduate and completing your degree. There's dedicated support for you, both centrally at the university-wide level. There's our Student Success Center who will help you with career planning and career preparation, not only while you're a student, but up to 10 years after you finish at McMaster. The different academic divisions as well also have advisors that will guide you through the process with support such as interview preparation, resume development as you're participating in different co-op or internship opportunities. So quite a variety of options. Again, our website would have an extensive or more details and list of these experiences that you can participate in.
Now, at the University of Waterloo, we were the first university in Canada to offer cooperative education or co-op. We've had co-op as part of our learning experience right from the first day we opened our doors over 60 years ago. We are home to the largest co-op program of its kind in the world, with over 7,100 different co-op employers located around the world. 70% of the students at Waterloo are in a co-op program, and most of your work terms will begin right after first year. So at Waterloo, our co-op is a little different in our approach in the sense that we don't do big, long blocks where you're going to be away. After your first year, you will actually alternate every 4 months between academic terms and work terms. So what that does is mean that you're leading a bit more of a nomadic lifestyle, but at the end of it, you're going to gain up to 2 years of paid work experience. Average earnings for a co-op student at the University of Waterloo is usually between $33,000 and $90,000 Canadian. Now that is over the course of your entire degree. I would love to tell you you can make $90,000 every 4 months. I would probably have a lot more people at this presentation if that was the case, but it's just not realistic. So between 33 and 90, usually on average over the course of your degree. You can see our website there for co-op and all of the great things that you can see or that you can find out about co-op at Waterloo. But those 30% of students who are not in a co-op program, we still want to make sure that you have opportunities to participate in experiential learning. So we actually have an EDGE certificate program that involves different seminars, volunteer experience, different advisor meetings, things like that, that will allow you to gain that edge in the workforce after graduation.
All right, and for York University, so 100%, so all of our programs do have some type of experiential education opportunity. And then being in the city of Toronto, plus having a subway on our campus station, on our campus, makes it very, very easy to get to from your places of work where you're going to be getting all of this experience. Experience comes in many different forms. So we do have our co-op, which can range from 4 to 12 months for many of our programs, and it will vary by the program and discipline that you are studying. Typically, this will start after your 4th term, and it can be scheduled in various ways as well. Co-op terms are paid, and other experiential opportunities for students do include placements, practicums, and internships as well. Internships will range from 8 to 16 months of paid work experience. And experiential education and the experience that you're going to be getting can be inside the classroom or within the community as well. So there is community-based learning, community-based research, and community service learning as well. So there's always something happening. So within each of your programs, whether you're on campus or off campus or participating in many of some of the many employers that we do have connections with, you are able to get the experience, which you are then able to include to your resume, and then work with our career services as well, where you can start with them as early as your 1st year. And you could be working on campus or off campus, as I mentioned, could be within your 1st year and 1st term as well. We've also listed our website links here as well. You can go and check them out for our co-op opportunities and which programs are those available in, internships, which programs are that available for, and then of course our guide to experiential education. So all of those links are here, which will be on this presentation that you can also access later as well. Okay, so with that, you will now have our contact information. And you're able to contact all of us with any questions that you have. You have our emails here as well and our names. So we will leave the slide here for a bit, but we will be taking questions now. So feel free to post your questions and we'll actually be answering those out loud for you. So thanks so much.
If you're watching from your phone, I would maybe encourage you to screenshot this and if you don't have anything to write with right now. But I believe the Q&A should be open, so we're happy to address any questions that you might have about studying in Ontario, Canada, whether it's related to co-op, the costs, admission, or the experience here in Canada.
Or you're just wondering how to explore our cities and some of the things you'll be doing on or off campus.
So while we were taking a look at any of the questions that may be coming in here, just wondering if we have any type of advice for students that may be watching this in terms of why maybe Canada should be worth a closer look or potentially continue to remain on the top of their list in terms of their research for college or university, for either Brian or Sunera.
Brian, would you like me to start or would you like to start?
Sure, go for it.
All right, so the very first reason, of course, we're going to say is that we are neighboring countries, and as we already mentioned, our education quality is recognized worldwide. So whether you're looking to go abroad after to do your graduate studies, if you're looking for a job, or if you want to come back to the United States, students are actually able to do so. Aside from that, you will have the opportunity to get the work experience that you're looking for, which will count in the United States or in Canada. And we also offer postgraduate work permit opportunities for students as well. So students are able to stay back and work in the country as well for up to 3 years, which can potentially lead to being a permanent residence and then eventually a Canadian citizenship. So you become a dual citizenship, and it doesn't get any better than that. Like, you're Canadian and you're an American.
Of course.
I've got one question in here that is directed for both of you, so I'll throw it out there for you. A student looking for what average both of your schools are going to be looking for engineering, and they've added in they are a Canadian high school student, so maybe speaking in terms of averages that you would require for engineering from a Canadian student.
I can get started. So from McMaster's perspective, we normally look for a GPA that's calculated, as I was mentioning earlier, based on grade 12 or senior level courses. On our website, you'll see the specific courses that we include in that calculation. Normally, it's about 5 or 6 classes, depending on where you're studying. On the 100% scale, it's about an 87% GPA. And in addition to that, for our engineering program, we also invite students to complete a video interview. And in fact, that's a mandatory component for admission to engineering. Using a combination of those two factors, so GPA plus the video interview, that is how we make our decision for students to enter the general first year of our engineering program. And at the end of that first year is when you choose a major. So there are about 10 different majors, like chemical engineering, civil engineering, software, and that major is based on your average in your first year, or if you have a very strong average, very strong GPA coming out of high school, you can receive what's called free choice, where it's very straightforward to get your major for second year. So that would be it for McMaster in a nutshell. I think Sunera, the student, was asking about York as well.
Awesome, thanks, Andy. So for York University, we are looking at around a mid-80 overall average from students who are interested in applying for our engineering programs. We will need to see your prerequisites, which will come from your senior year. So this will have to be English, math, also physics, and chemistry as well. So we do need to see those. We have a few different streams that students can study. Most students will do a common first year, but then every year as you are applying around February, our engineering school will reach out to you. If you are clear on a choice and you know the stream of engineering that you would like to pursue, you can also declare that as well in February, should you choose to. Aside from that, your co-op and internship will typically start within your third year, and we do have a co-op office dedicated with our engineering school that will work with you to get to help you get those positions as well.
Awesome, thanks.
I don't see any other questions here, but I was wondering if either of you wanted to chat about FAFSA, because as I'm thinking back, I don't think we've kind of discussed how if students can use that. I don't know, it's a very easy answer that students might not be aware of.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I can highlight from the Waterloo side of things. As anyone who has looked at Waterloo or talked to us, you find the most common answer you get from Waterloo is, well, it varies. So because of the co-op component that a lot of our courses take, all of the co-op programs have an online component with it as well. And as a result, as well, we are FAFSA. You can use it here. It's only for certain programs. So there are some conditions around it at Waterloo anyways, in terms of FAFSA that will allow students to use that.
All right, yeah, and for York University, we do have our financial aid office that works directly for students who are going to be using their FAFSA, so you're definitely able to bring that over and use it at our campuses. That's completely fine. And on our website, we also have the code that students can use. So you do have my email address here, and if you have questions around that, then do let me know, and I'm happy to give you that code. But students are definitely able to use their FAFSA. One thing I do want to mention, though, when you are coming from the US, students are not eligible for Pell Grants if you are studying outside of the United States. So I do want to clarify that you're not able to carry over your Pell Grants. FAFSA is only a possibility, at least for York.
And I can simply say ditto for McMaster. It's very straightforward. Students can use FAFSA in order to cover the cost of their tuition, including what Sunera mentioned about the Pell component of that. I'm not seeing any additional questions here. Were there other areas or other advice that either you, Brian, or Sunera maybe want to share with students from the United States as they are going through their research about options in Canada or Ontario?
I think maybe one thing just to highlight is when, one of the things about studying in Canada, specifically with, the area that the majority of you are likely joining us from today in the New Jersey area, it's a great way to get, an affordable education, an international education, but still be fairly similar to home. In terms of location-wise, New Jersey to any of our three institutions, the weather's going to be very similar. We probably actually get, well, Hamilton might get as much snow as Jersey coming in off the lake, but generally speaking, we're going to be very similar weather conditions. It's going to be very similar. The cultures, the aspects of being up here, it's going to feel very much like it is at home. So it's a great way to get that affordable education, world renowned, and still feel like you're fairly close to home.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Brian covered it very nicely. So again, you have the same culture, and you get a little bit of a different experience. You're still able to find most of the things you will find within the US. So you don't have Dunkin' Donuts maybe, but you will have Tim Hortons.
What I will add to that in terms of connectivity, so the fun fact, again, if you're into trivia, the Amtrak actually services the Toronto area through a daily service out of Penn Station. So if you're wanting to hop on a train and not drive, you could do so on the Amtrak out of Penn Station. I think it's about 10 hours from New York to Toronto on a daily basis. But just to echo what Brian and Sunera has mentioned in terms of the quality of education. Speaking on behalf of McMaster, we're extremely fortunate to be recognized in a number of different ways. In 2020, an organization called Times Higher Education has very graciously recognized McMaster as number 69 out of their annual assessment that they do conduct of universities around the world. And so the quality of instruction that you're getting, whether it's University of Waterloo or York or McMaster, but that close connectivity is also there, and that familiarity, but it's at the same time a slightly different cultural experience that you would participate in by joining us here in Canada.
Andy, I'm also wondering if we can talk a little bit about graduate studies. So students who are interested in studying at our campuses or within Canada, so if they're looking to go for their graduate studies, either to continue here or in the States, and what does that look like for students? So do either you or Brian want to start with that?
Yeah, because of the essentially the quality and the fact that Canadian universities are recognized universities internationally in terms of preparation from a first degree that you earn in Canada and transferability to move on to other areas like professional schools such as medicine or other areas of professional practice. It is fairly straightforward. In the case of some of the programs that we offer, our nursing program as an example, we train students to become registered nurses, and the NCLEX, which is the exam that students have to complete throughout North America to practice as a registered nurse. Our graduates are very well prepared to achieve success in that. I think it's in the mid to high 90% range in terms of success rate that students, the preparation that students receive through our program and can use throughout North America as an example of one of the ways where you can transfer for postgraduate studies. And so the foundation that you receive here in Canada can definitely transfer back to the United States.
Yeah, and I think even just, whether you want to pursue your graduate studies here in Canada, into the United States, like Andy said, or elsewhere around the world, it's one of those great things about having Canadian degrees so internationally recognized is that pursuing your graduate studies, even other international locations, is a really straightforward process for you. Because our undergraduate degrees are recognized worldwide, there's no, there's not a lot of extra hoops that you really have to jump through. And then if you want to stay in Canada, all of us offer graduate programs at different levels and in different aspects. So lots of opportunities there to continue on in Canada if you wish as well.
Yeah, and something I'm just going to add, it is very common for students to come in to us for graduate studies here, at least at York, and I'm sure my colleagues can say the same. But we also find a lot of students after they're finishing their undergraduate degrees here to go and pursue graduate school in the United States as well. So if you're a Canadian citizen, we do see many of our students going off. And many of our students at all of our institutions end up even going to Ivy League schools as well. So whether that's Yale Law School or Harvard Law, we've had students that are able to take their Canadian education some of the best institutions in the world and the United States as well.
Yeah, and maybe just as we're kind of getting close to we got about 5 minutes left, maybe if we want to just touch a little bit on athletics up here, the differences in scholarships between Canadian and Ontario schools specifically, and our American colleagues.
Absolutely, I'm happy to jump in. In terms of athletics, so I think the first major difference is because Canada and Canadian universities operate in a different country. We are not, aside from a few examples, we're not part of the NCAA, and so that organization or the structure where you have Division 1, 2, 3, you won't necessarily find that in Canada. That said, there are equivalent organizations. So we have what is referred to as U Sports, which is the national equivalent of that across Canada. Universities compete interprovincially. So here in Ontario, we have what's called the Ontario University Athletics Association. And depending on the sport, whether it is basketball, football, soccer, our teams will compete against each other at the varsity level, other universities that is, and then the champion from our province will compete against the champions from other parts of Canada, and eventually we get to a national champion. So that I think is probably the most obvious difference. Within Ontario, from a scholarships perspective for athletes, the association, the Athletics Association here in Ontario has set a limit. So it's very different from the United States in that sense, where it's not unusual throughout the US, universities or colleges to our neighbors south of the border, for students to receive larger scholarship opportunities. There is a limit here within Ontario. And I believe that structure somewhat follows throughout Canada as well. But the last time I checked, I think it was about $4,000 or $4,500 annually that student athletes may receive. For McMaster in particular, as we go through the admission process, admission is based primarily on academic performance. Athletics isn't really taken into consideration in in that decision-making process. I'm assuming it's very similar for what Brian and Sunera are representing today, but not sure if there's anything else that you would want to add about athletics and scholarships related to athletics.
I think it's definitely, I mean, like Andy said, you're going to find a very big difference. That limit Ontario in terms of across Canada, Ontario has the strictest regulations in terms of what we can offer in athletic scholarships. So if you are a high caliber athlete looking to compete at the varsity level, that's fantastic. You can definitely look at doing that up here and competing at a very high level. But in terms of scholarship money, Canada, we have limits very much in place. And within Ontario specifically, we do have the kind of tightest restrictions in the country in terms of what we can offer.
Yeah, thanks, folks. I think you guys covered it extremely well. I don't have anything additional to add for that, but it's the same thing for York as well, being in Ontario.
So I'm not seeing any additional questions here, but I don't know if our moderator has any housekeeping notes that have to occur, but on behalf of McMaster, thank you for joining us today. To all of our viewers, I encourage you to reach out to my email address there. I'm sure Sunera and Brian would love if you have any questions to reach out to them as well. You'll see our website, future.mcmaster.ca. I know we've given you kind of a quick summary and synopsis about our different universities, but those websites are great resources to learn more and to go deeper into some of what we've mentioned here today. But those would be my concluding thoughts for everyone working their way through COVID-19. Stay safe out there. Very fortunate in Canada that we've not had as severe of an impact as other jurisdictions of the world, but I do hope that everyone remains safe throughout these unprecedented times.
Yes, and thank you so much, Andy, Brian, and Sunera, for a wonderful presentation. Thank you, students, for joining us. And I am going to share with you one more slide, which is not popping up now. In regards to the survey you're going to have after this. Sorry about that. So I will, when you close this window, there will be a link to a very quick survey. It is a 4-question survey. We appreciate any feedback you can provide. Also, this was just one of many sessions being hosted. So be sure to sign up for any additional sessions at NJACAC.org/virtual-fair. In about a week, you will be able to find the sessions recording as well as all the other session recordings at NJACAC.org/virtual-fair. So thank you, everyone, and have a great day.